Window functions can turn complicated SQL into short, readable queries. In the next few minutes, you will see 12 real examples for rankings, running totals, duplicate detection, and more using code you can reuse at work or in interviews. We will start with two window function patterns you can use immediately in analytics queries. The key idea is that window functions add insight to each row without removing the detailed rows. Support teams often need to know whether an order was a customer's first purchase or a later one. Let's build a small orders dataset, then use row number to number orders inside each customer. Now we run the query and look at the result. Let's break down why this works. Partition by creates a separate sequence for customer 101 and customer 202, while order by decides which order gets each number. The detail rows stay visible, which is the main advantage over a grouped query. The best practice here is to add order ID after order date because timestamps can tie in real systems. That tiebreaker makes the result stable every time the query runs. Use this pattern whenever a row number drives reporting or downstream logic. An e-commerce analyst usually needs top products within every category, not one global leaderboard. We aggregate order items into product revenue, then apply rank inside each category. Now we run the query and inspect the category-specific rankings. Let's break down the result. Headphones and mouse both earn 300, so both receive rank 2 in electronics. In home, blender and lamp tie for first, so mug becomes rank 3 rather than rank 2. The best practice here is to choose rank when ties should leave gaps, which matches many competition-style leaderboards. If your report needs consecutive numbers after a tie, switch to dense rank. Make that choice intentionally because it changes what users see. Ranking becomes especially useful when a dashboard needs only the strongest records from every business group. Next, we will rank salespeople and safely filter that ranking. Regional dashboards should show each manager their strongest sellers without hiding ties at the cutoff. We aggregate sales, calculate dense rank within each region, and filter that rank from an outer query. Now we run the query and see the regional leaderboard. Let's break down the output. East has 4 people because Kara and Dan both occupy revenue rank 3. This is often exactly what a fair leaderboard needs. Keep everyone who earned the final included rank. The best practice here is to calculate the window value in a CTE, then filter it in the outer query. SQL evaluates where before window functions, so the alias does not exist yet in the same select level. This structure is clear, portable, and easy to extend. Cumulative totals turn event data into a timeline that people can actually read. Here, we will build the running balance behind a financial account ledger. A finance screen needs to show the account balance after every deposit or charge, not just the final total. We sum each account's transaction amounts in chronological order and explicitly include all earlier rows through the current one. Now we run the query and inspect the ledger. Let's break down why the balance changes one row at a time. The frame begins with the account's first row and ends at the current row, so each new transaction updates the accumulated amount. Partition by prevents one account from affecting another account's balance. The best practice here is to write the rows frame explicitly for a running total. It guarantees that the calculation advances row by row, even when several transactions share the same posted date. Use this for ledgers, inventory movements, and event streams. Business metrics become more useful when you compare them with the prior period. In this example, we will use yesterday's revenue to calculate daily change safely. Product teams watch daily revenue for sudden drops, but they need yesterday's value on the same row to measure that change. We aggregate orders by day, use lag to read the preceding day, and use nolif to protect the percentage calculation. Now we run the query and inspect the changes. Let's break down the result. January 3 is down 130 from the previous day, which is a 50% decline. The first day has no earlier day to compare, and January 5 cannot calculate a percentage because its previous revenue is 0. The best practice here is to wrap the previous value with nulif before dividing. When yesterday's revenue is 0, nulif turns that denominator into null instead of raising an error. This makes the metric safe for dashboards and scheduled reports. Next, we will use a window function to look forward in an ordered timeline. This is a simple pattern that makes booking gaps and overlaps much easier to spot. A reservation system needs the next check-in date to reason about room capacity. We partition the rows by room, order each room's bookings by check-in and booking ID, then use LED to read the following check-in date. Now we run the query and inspect the booking timeline. Let's break down the output. Booking 101 is followed by a May 4th check-in, while booking 102 is followed immediately by a May 6th check-in. The last booking in each room has null, because there is no next row in that room's partition. Now let's show the best practice. Order by the true business sequence and include a unique tiebreaker. Here, booking ID resolves two bookings that could otherwise share the same check-in time. Use this whenever event timestamps are not guaranteed to be unique. Rolling metrics reduce day-to-day noise without hiding the trend. We will calculate a 7-day revenue average while keeping every daily row visible. Marketing teams usually care more about the revenue trend than one unusually strong or weak day. We order the daily data and average the current row with the 6 rows before it. Now we run the query to see the 7-day moving average appear beside every date. Let's break down why the first averages use fewer days. On June 1st, only 1 row exists, and on June 2nd, only 2 rows exist. Starting on June 7th, the frame contains exactly 7 rows, so the metric becomes a full 7-day average. Now let's show the best practice. Make sure your data contains every calendar date before using a rows frame. A missing date would make 7 rows mean more than 7 calendar days. Generate or join to a date spine when the business question is truly time-based. Window aggregates can calculate totals without collapsing the detailed rows. This makes percentage analysis much cleaner than joining a separate total query. A normal aggregate would remove the individual customer rows, which is not useful for account analysis. Here, one window total covers the whole company, and another total resets inside each segment. Now we run the query and compare both shares on the same customer rows. Let's break down Acme's numbers. Its $5,000 is half of the $10,000 company total, so company share is 0.5. Inside Enterprise, the total is 8,000, so Acme owns 62.5% of that segment. Now let's show the best practice, forced decimal arithmetic before dividing revenue by a total. Some SQL systems perform integer division when both operands are integers, which can turn a small share into 0. Cast an operand to a decimal type whenever the source columns are not already decimal. Entile creates balanced groups from an ordered list. It is ideal when a team needs relative value bands instead of fixed spending thresholds. For outreach planning, relative customer value is often more useful than a long list sorted by revenue. First, we aggregate order amounts into lifetime value, then Entile splits the sorted customers into 4 balanced bands. Now we run the query and label quartile 1 as the highest value group. Let's break down the ranking. Entile assigns numbers after the rows are sorted from the largest lifetime value to the smallest. That means Ava and Ben receive quartile 1 first, so our label correctly marks them as the highest value customers. Now let's show the best practice. Use Entile only when you want similarly sized groups. Quartiles change as the customer population changes, so they are not fixed revenue levels. If the business says every customer above $1,000 is premium, use case with that explicit threshold instead. Event streams are full of repeated user rows, and window functions let us enrich every row with user-level facts. Here, we will attach both the first and latest activity time. Event-level data is detailed, but product teams also need user-level context on every event. We partition by user sort events chronologically and calculate the first and last timestamp for that complete user history. Now we run the query and inspect both timestamps on every row. Let's break down the key difference. First value can see the first row in the ordered partition, so every event for user 10 gets the sign-up time. Last value only returns the true final event because its frame explicitly reaches unbounded following, all the way to the end of the user's events. Now let's show the best practice. Explicitly extend the last value frame through unbounded following. This makes the intent obvious and prevents a subtle default frame bug. Apply it whenever you need the final value from a complete ordered partition. Next, we will use window functions to find activity streaks even when the source data contains duplicate events and gaps between dates. A learning platform can award badges for consecutive days of activity, but raw login data often contains multiple logins on the same day. We will first keep one row per user and day, then use row nundered to turn consecutive dates into a shared streak key. Now run the query and inspect the streak ranges it produces. Let us break down why this works. For consecutive dates, the date and the row number both advance by 1, so their difference stays constant. A missing day changes that difference, which gives the next streak a new group key. For production data, the best approach is to deduplicate activity dates before numbering them. because this protects valid streaks from repeated events. Apply this whenever the business rule is based on calendar days rather than the number of raw events. Now we will derive user sessions directly from ordered clickstream events using an inactivity rule instead of a pre-computed sessions table. Web analytics events usually arrive as one long stream, while product teams need sessions, durations, and event totals. We will compare each event with the previous one, flag gaps over 30 minutes, and cumulatively number the sessions. Now run the query to see one summary row for every derived session. Let us break down the session logic. Lag gives each event its previous timestamp, and only gaps greater than 30 minutes start a new session. The running sum then carries that new session number forward until the next inactivity gap appears. For production analytics, the best approach is to document the inactivity threshold and use a unique tiebreaker in the window ordering. Apply this whenever events can share a timestamp, because deterministic ordering keeps session boundaries repeatable. You now have 12 practical window function patterns to add to your SQL toolkit. Like and subscribe for more real coding examples, and tell me in the comments which SQL topic you want to practice next.